If you like to make your NFL games a little bit more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby, Vegas. It is the Even Money Podcast. We are, of course, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Most of you know that by now. I absolutely love this show because it makes it so fun to give you guys our bets every week. And last week, we felt good about the card, and we should have. Absolutely crushed it. Very exciting. Both Steve and I were in double digits for the week, which is glorious. I was up 10 units. He was up 12 units. You can check me out on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Check us out at Ross Tucker Pod. Check him out at Fezzik Sports and only at Fezzik Sports, except absolutely no imposters. It is awesome feeling to do this show when we had a great week. As a reminder, this is actually a pretty cool Christmas gift if you want. Sign up yourself or someone else to be a patron at patreon.com/RTmedia so you can see the beautiful spreadsheet that Grades creates every week that tracks all of our bets across every category, you know, favorites, underdogs. I mean, I'm looking strike rate, return on investment, outlay, return, balance, the leans. It's literally the best $10 a month you could ever spend. Patreon.com/RTmedia. Make sure that you become a Tuckheads member. You get access to the private Slack channel with all the other listeners, and you'll see the spreadsheet. Shout out to John Dillon, Poria Hamidi, and Brian Wyatt, 3 of our latest patrons. Patreon.com/RTmedia. Steve, we'll get right into it. We talked about it last week. We nailed it. We started with Bears-Lions. I put 1 unit on the Bears getting the 10.5. That came through. You put 2 units on the Lions, Steve. That backfired for you. They were dominating that first half. That was crazy.
I was against all the pros. The pros were on the underdog Bears because of all the line injuries, and I guess it caught up to them in the second half. But I'll be honest, if the Lions don't fumble going in at the end of the first half, I think that turned the tide. By the way, I know Eberflus can't coach a lick, but Caleb Williams, that's on the quarterback also. You cannot allow that to happen. 30 seconds to run off with the game on the line at the end.
Well, it could be a much longer conversation. He changed the play. You can't change the play. Like, I don't think he realized they'd had a timeout.
If you
listen to his post-game comment, he's like, well, when you don't have well, we had one. I don't think he knew they had a timeout.
If you and I were playing on an intramural team and I was the quarterback and I let the clock's at 14, 12, snap the ball. I don't care if you're not ready, do something. Nope. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was not good. Giants, Cowboys. I leaned Giants getting the 4. You leaned to the Cowboys laying the 4. You were right. I was wrong. Dolphins, Packers. I put 1 unit on the Dolphins. Never again in cold weather for me with the Dolphins. That's why I only put 1 unit on. They were playing so well. They were getting my beloved 3.5, and yet they lose by 13. You leaned Packers, Steve. You were right. Raiders, Chiefs. We had nothing on the Chiefs laying 13 and somehow winning a game they shouldn't have won again. Never seen this before in the NFL. Never, Steve.
Well, part of it, I've seen it in the NBA when LeBron James and those Cleveland teams would just coast through the regular season. But I got to tell you, this is on the defense. That defense is bad for whatever reason this year. And it's won them championships, notably last year. Big problem for the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to be able to throw the switch this year in the playoffs. They're in trouble.
What's really interesting is the defense was awesome earlier in the year. but it's like this injury to Jalen Watson has hurt them tremendously. Okay, so we're through the Chiefs-Raiders game. We got to keep it moving because there was no buys this past week. Seahawks-Jets, we each had the Jets up to 8.5. And that, Steve, was our crowning moment of the week presented by DraftKings. We nailed all the teasers. I had 3 of them. I had the Jets up to 8.5, the Eagles up to 8.5, the Falcons up to 7.5. You also had the Bills down to -0.5 point. I wimped out on them, but we crushed it on all of our Wong teasers yet again. Absolutely awesome. Crowning moments presented by DraftKings. Submit your winning bets for a chance to be featured. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Love the teasers. We crushed it. Texans, Jags. We had a best bet, 2 units on the Jags. They came through, even with Trevor Lawrence out. That was 2 units. We both loved the Titans getting 5.5. They got blown out. So that was the best bet we lost. They were getting 5.5. They lost 42-19. Total no-show by the Titans. But then 3 of our underdogs in a row, Steve. We both like the Cardinals getting 3.5. They lost the game by 1. They really should have won that game, but we don't care. We had them getting 3.5, 2 units. Then we had Steelers-Bengals. We both had the Steelers getting 3 points. Guess what? They won outright. Russell Wilson looks good. 2 more units on a best bet. Then we had Colts-Patriots. Patriots getting 3 for 2 units. They should have won 2. They blew that one, but we don't care. We were getting 3 points. 2 more units on a best bet. We are absolutely on fire with our underdogs. I let you talk me into the over on Chargers-Falcons over 47. Didn't even get close. 17-13. Kirk Cousins giveth and taketh away in terms of the pick 6 and the other interception. Bucks-Panthers. We both loved the Panthers getting 6. They only lost by 3 in overtime. I was so worried we were going to push, Steve. When that went to overtime, when they made that, when the Panthers got the touchdown, and I knew the Bucks were going to kick a field goal and send it to overtime, I was like, the Bucks are going to score a touchdown in overtime. We're going to push here. I thought
we might lose at the end when the Bucks were in the red zone and up 1, and the Bucky Irving got stuffed then, on 3rd and goal from the 1. So even the easy ones can be, you can sweat them out.
All right, Saints, Rams. We both liked the Saints getting 3. They were right there. That was a fine bet. They lost 21-14. They were controlling the action in the first half. Some injuries, whatever. We lost that one. Eagles, Ravens was the teaser leg we discussed. Niners, Bills. I lean Niners getting the 6.5. Boy, they came to play early the first 2 or 3 series, and then it was just over. They blew it.
California teams did not do well in the winter wonderland this past weekend. No.
You had the Bills as a teaser leg, which racked up 2 more teaser wins for you. I wish I had. Browns, Broncos. I leaned to the Browns getting the 5.5. That was the right side, by the way. You put 2 units on the Broncos laying 5.5. 2 pick sixes, Steve, in 1 game. You were very fortunate.
Oh, completely. It was no business covering that game. Heck, I could make the case the Broncos should have lost, so just amazing. By the way, Watson should never get a job the rest of his life as a professional football quarterback, because my goodness, Winston's having no problem with that offense other than turnovers.
You meant Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I think you said Winston.
Oh, I could. Winston's awesome. Gunslinger, turns the ball over too much. Watson, oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, we know. All right. Here's the week. You were up 12 units. I was up 10 units. We were 8-3 on our best bets. 8-3 on the best bets. For the year, I'm now up to 30 units plus 30. You're plus 26.5. It's interestingly, Steve, a return on investment of 9% for both of us, a strike rate of 54% for both of us. However, on our best bets, we're 56, 41, and 3, which is a strike rate of 56%. All of this information, by the way, comes to us from our guy Grades. Very easy for you guys to get and see it in black and white. Patreon.com/RT Media. We move on. Week 14 in the NFL. All right, Steve, before we get to this week's winning bets, I got a couple awesome winning bets in terms of Christmas gifts for you guys. Let's start with my friends over at westshorehome.com/Ross. They're doing free installation plus 18 months, no interest, no payments. You can do the full bath remodel, which takes 2 or 3 days. People love. You can do the shower, which they can do in 1 day. So much better than having a bathtub. Just have the walk-in shower, especially if you're a former offensive lineman like me or getting older. You don't want to have to step over the bathtub. Or they do the entry doors, which is enhanced security, energy savings. If you go to westshorehome.com/Ross, you can see the 3 new doors we just got last week. They are awesome. westshorehome.com/Ross. You never knew how much you needed a new door until you get one. westshorehome.com/Ross. Another great gift, by the way, while we're talking about incredible holiday gifts, how about getting someone tickets to anything courtesy of the Game Time app? You guys know I'm a huge fan of the Game Time app and using the code MONEY because it's so money it's not even funny. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code MONEY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, you're going to want to create an account, redeem code MONEY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. And speaking of Game Time, I'm looking right now, $312 for my game Thursday night. It's going to be hopping, but at least you know you're getting the guaranteed lowest price and you can see the view from your seat. Get the Game Time app. Use that code MONEY. It's money. Steve, we start with my game. Thursday night. I only have one this weekend. It's radio. Westwood won with Iron Eagle. I'll be in the booth, Ford Field. Packers getting 3.5 against the Lions on Thursday night.
So the Lions are a complete juggernaut, but now they're massively injured. This is going to be a close game, Ross. And if they played 2 weeks ago, it would be a no bet. I'd lean Lions. Now, Green Bay, 2 units. Should be close.
Totally agree. It's a best bet. You know how I feel about getting 3.5. And I think the Packers are playing really well. They want revenge for that earlier loss. Lions are taking on water with all these injuries, man. I mean, they are just taking on water. So that is a best bet for us. Green Bay plus 3.5. The total, by the way, was 51. I don't know if I said that or not. All right. Next up, we've got the Panthers. They're getting 12 against the Eagles, Steve.
You know, curiously, I make this game 15. I'm just so high on the Eagles. I'm not going to lay it, but I'll lean to the Eagles.
So I'm gonna take Carolina plus 12, 1 unit. They're playing well. 12's a lot of points. Bryce Young is showing that he could be a backdoor cover guy. He's good enough now as a backdoor cover guy. I'm only putting 1 unit on it. This is also a letdown spot for the Eagles after the run they've been on, playing the Ravens, big game. Now you're playing the Panthers, a 1 o'clock game. I think it's a letdown spot for the Eagles. Just 1 unit there. What about the Jets and the Dolphins? Dolphins are laying 6.5. Total's 45.5, Steve.
I make the game Miami -6. There's reports that Miami possibly, the coaching staff has lost the locker room. I don't know to believe it. The Jets are donezo, obviously. I think we got 2 teams. I don't want to bet on either one. I'm going to pass.
Got to pass this as well. I do not know what to expect from the Dolphins after that debacle in Green Bay. They did get extra time off, time to rest. It's a home game. I could probably only lean Dolphins here. I thought about them as a teaser leg, not doing it. Raiders are getting 7, Steve, against the Bucks. The total's 45.5.
Yeah, I'm surprised by this because I make the game 7.5, which my first take on it was that I would be on the Raiders, but I can't go against my power ratings. I will, I'd like to tease Tampa, but I really got no good dance partners to tease them with. The only suggestion I would give later in the week when the week 15 lines come out, consider using Tampa as a teaser with some games next week, but it's not going to be a big teaser week. I have no teasers this week.
Interesting. Yep. So I got nothing on that game. If anything, I would just lean to the Raiders. They're playing decent football right now. 7.5, I would absolutely have probably teased the Bucks down. But I kind of like where the Raiders are playing, at least the way they did against the Chiefs. Falcons are getting 5 against the Vikings. Totals 45.5, Steve.
So normally I would love me some +5 in what should be a close game. I can't do it. I think Cousins is injured. And by the way, that interception he threw into that thicket of defenders, I know that pass well because I throw it all the time when I throw the ball as hard as I can to my son at the park. The 30-yard lollipop. But you know what? I'm a former chess champion, not an athlete, and I'm 61. So I have major concerns about Cousins' health. I can't bet on Atlanta. I pass.
Totally agree. It's like a revenge spot for him. I would normally love Atlanta +5, and I will lean to Atlanta +5, but those are two of the worst picks I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know what the deal is there. It's like he can't throw the ball. There's something going on there that it's too much for me to wait to bet my money or yours. All right, Saints. They're in New York against the Giants. They are laying 5. Are the New Orleans Saints? Total's 40, Steve.
The Saints are too injured to be laying that kind of lumber. I mean, I hate the Giants, but I gotta do it with the O-line injuries and Honey Badger injured. Yeah, give me the Giants 1 unit.
Wow. Giants +5 from Steve, 1 unit. I can't do that. I can't do that with the Giants. They just put Dexter Lawrence on IR, Theo Johnson. I'll just lean to the Saints laying the 5, actually. What about actually, you know what? I'll lean to the Giants getting the 5. And these games are just bad teams late in the year. You're going to get more than a field goal. Lean that way. What about the Browns? They're getting 6 on the road in Pittsburgh. Total's 43, Steve.
I'm going to lean to Pittsburgh. So it's recent revenge game. It's a bad basic strategy to lay the points with Tomlin. You want to bet Pittsburgh when they're catching points. But my gut says that Cleveland, they've had these high-profile games where, high scoring. Winston's played great, gunslinging the last 2 games, other than the last 2 minutes last night. But I lean Pittsburgh.
I will lean Pittsburgh as well. Short week for the Browns. Jameis kind of tends to be up and down. They just beat them. They just played them a couple weeks ago. What about the Jaguars? Assuming it's Mac Jones getting 3.5 against the Titans. Totals 39.5.
I actually make the game 5. I know I don't want to lay it with the bad team hosting the other bad team, but my power ratings say lean Tennessee. Amazing.
Wow. I'm a little surprised by that. I'm going to take the Jags. Getting the 3.5. This can go either way. I'm a little bit worried the Titans have a bounce back game after they got smashed by the Commanders. But I'm putting 2 units on Jacksonville, getting 3.5. These teams are similar. Mac Jones looked better in the fourth quarter against the Texans. I'll take the team getting 3.5, 2 units, Jacksonville. Seattle's getting 3 in Arizona. Huge game, Steve. Total's 45.
So it's a great spot for Arizona. They're the better team, and they've off back-to-back losses in games where they basically statistically, they played Seattle even in Seattle. They played Minnesota even in Minnesota. Confluence of unlucky events cost them both games. So I personally like Arizona. I'm not going to lay 3, though, now that this line has gone up. I'm going to play the under 45. So I'm going to make a case. Arizona's a team, the whole first half of the year, all they did was play really good quarterbacks, teams like Buffalo, etc. And because of that, that defense for Arizona is actually quite good, and it's underrated because they've had to play such a difficult strength of schedule. This should be a close game. The game against the Jets, the Seattle Jets game should have been like 30 points scored instead of 47. I'm going under the 45.
Got it. I can see that. I mean, they just played and it was 16-6. Now, I forget, was weather a major factor?
It was a typical day in the Pacific Northwest. It wasn't perfect weather, but there was a pick 6 in that game also. So, I mean, scratch one touchdown that shouldn't even have happened.
You know what? I'm with you on that. That sounds like a lot of points. Arizona, Seattle, under 45. That's a 2-unit, second one of our best bets this week. I think you're right about that. 24-20 max. What about the Bills? They're in LA to take on the Rams, which means, Steve, a ton of people in Buffalo going out west, getting away from the snow, drinking Labatt Blue Lights with their friends, fellow Bills fans, living life to the power of we, always enjoying it responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. The Bills are only laying 4 against the Rams, Steve. Total's 49.
And I make the game 5.5, so I can't get involved, but I'll say this. You got a team in Buffalo that just had 2 feet of lake effect snow, right? You've had that the big snow bowl where they played so well.
Oh, yeah, I was there. I know.
And now they go to La La Land. I'm worried about whether the Bills are going to be buttoned up or if this is just a celebratory week for them to be able to go to LA and see some sunshine. I'll still lean Rams.
All right, so if you make the game 5.5, why wouldn't you lay the 4 with Buffalo?
Because the spot's terrible. It's great for the Rams and terrible for Buffalo traveling across the country after being snowed in.
Half the fans are going to be Bills fans.
That's true.
All
They'll
right.
probably be laying out on the beach with the players as well the night before.
I will lay I'll lay the 4 with I will lean to the Bills, not lean to the Bills, laying the 4. They're playing really well right now. What about the Bears and the Niners? The Bears are getting 3.5, totals 44.
So I need to bet against both these teams, and they're playing each other. There's got to be better investment opportunities. I don't know where Chicago is in terms of their mindset. I don't know if San Fran's saying too much tread on the tire. It's just not our year with all of these injuries. I pass.
Listen, the Niners just lost McCaffrey and Mason again now. The Bears fired their head coach. They did not like him. They were blaming him. They need to prove it was his fault. I love the Bears. I don't like the Bears getting 3.5. I love the Bears getting 3.5 in this game. This is I think the Niners know they're done. And this is the opportunity for the Bears to prove it was all Eberflus's fault. 2 units, Chicago, plus 3.5 in this one. All right. Sunday night, the Chargers are getting 4 points against the Chiefs. Big Sunday night game. Totals 43, Steve.
Yeah, I'm not going to overthink this. I know the Chargers have injuries. Dobbins is injured. McConkey is always injured.
Yes.
Kansas City, they're leaking oil. They can't play defense, and all they do is play close games. So KC will find a way to win and not cover. Give me the Chargers, 2 units.
Totally agree. Harbaugh and Greg Roman, they'll come up with something to keep it competitive, even if McConkey can't play. That's the concerning one. But the Chiefs don't blow out anybody, no matter what. They're not going to blow out a division opponent in Sunday Night Football. LA Chargers plus 4, 2 more units, another best bet. That's 3 of them so far that we've got that are best bets. What about Monday night? It's the Bengals and the Cowboys. Bengals are laying 5.5. Totals 50.5, Steve.
I make the game 6, but I gotta feel my power rating's probably too high on the Bengals because they're donezo now. And Dallas has some momentum. So even though it's against my power rating, I will lean strongly to Dallas, but I don't want to go against my ratings.
Yeah, I'm putting 2 units on the Cowboys. They've won 2 in a row. Extra time after Thanksgiving for this one. They've got some momentum. They're believing. And you're right. The Bengals are donezo, and the Bengals know they're donezo. 2 units on the Cowboys plus 5.5. All right, here we go. We always have questions for you, Steve, that I absolutely love from our listeners. If you take advantage of any sponsor, make sure you send me the question so I can ask Steve here on the show. He says, this is from Barry Schochner, Steve. Remember, email me the question, ross@rosstucker.com. And if you take advantage of any of the sponsors you hear on the show or any other Ross Tucker podcast shows, you will definitely get your question answered. He says, if a line is off by a point based on Steve's power rankings, what is my approximate win probability if I bet accordingly? Barry Schochner. You got like 45 seconds here, Steve.
Yeah, if it's basketball, every half point is worth about 2%. So off by a point, 54%. Football is more complicated. It depends, all right? Because if I'm getting plus 7.5 and the line should be 6.5, then that's like a 55% play. But if I'm getting plus 5.5 and the line should be 4.5, now it's more like a 52% play. So I'm sorry to be so complex, but it all depends in football on how key the number is.
But it's somewhere between 52 and 55%.
Yes.
Got it. But it also depends on whether or not it goes through the key number. That's interesting.
If it goes through 3, it's a 60% bet.
Ooh, love it. Great question, Barry. Keep them coming. ross@rosstucker.com. Go ahead and make sure you check out the incredible spreadsheet from our guy Grades, patreon.com/RTmedia. Good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for tuning in to Even Money. Make sure to also check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.